Alright, yo, what is going on, guys? Flamebreaker here, and today it's close to Halloween, and that means, you gotta play some horror games, watch some horror movies, that kind of stuff. And if you don't know what to play on the gaming side of things, that's why I'm making this video, talking about 8 horror games that you can play this Halloween. So yeah, if you guys want to see more of this content in the future, be sure to like and sub, and let's get into it. Starting off with one of my favorite horror games of all time, Alien Isolation. Now, this game, it should be only about like 20 bucks, I think. So yeah, it's dirt cheap and it is well worth it. This game is so much fun. Essentially, you play as this girl here, Amanda Ripley. And yes, she is the daughter of Ellen Ripley, and this game is set 15 years after the first Alien movie, and Amanda is trying to figure out where her mother is or what happened to her, and da 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 da. Now, this game has adaptive AI. So essentially, you're running from the xenomorph, as you can see with, that guy dying right there. And the xenomorph, like I said, has adaptive AI, meaning if you hide in like the same place over and over and over again and like lose the xeno in that area or something like that, I think that's how it works. He will check that area, that little hiding space. So you need to constantly mix up your strategies in order to actually avoid the xenomorph. Now, there are a couple of weapons you can use, like there's a flamethrower and a pistol and stuff like that, but I don't think it does. I don't know if the pistol does too much against the xenomorph, but there are like actual enemies, like people on this ship that you'll have to use them against, as well as androids, the guys mainly seen from Alien 2. The Xeno can also pop up from the ceiling, so if you go underneath a like an open vent or whatever, and he is right there, he will kill you. And if you get too close, he will kill you as well. So there's a lot to this game. The game is an absolute blast. It is so much fun. The story is great, and the gameplay is awesome. I would highly recommend it out of anything on this list. But yeah, let's move on to the next game. We can't make a horror game list without including something from Resident Evil. Obviously, the new game is coming out on the 27th of February next year, Requiem. So this might be a good series to get into if you're thinking about picking up the game. Essentially, I have right here Resident Evil 4. Obviously, pretty much any of the Resident Evil games are great. I would highly recommend. 4 is probably it's one of my favorites. But the Resident Evil games are really, really good. But for this video, I'm just going to focus on 4 for now. Essentially, you play as this guy, Leon Kennedy, and he's become sort of like a military agent, like a government agent, something like that. And he gets tasked on a mission to save the president's daughter. But there's a whole like scandal as to the condition or like what's happening to his daughter. I'm not going to elaborate because I don't want to spoil the game. But overall, the gameplay is really good. You do have some like options to defend yourself. Most of the enemies are kind of like human per se. I say per se because they can transform into zombies or at least something like them. But you can use things like knives, guns. There's a crossbow as well. But I will tell you if you if you ever play a Resident Evil game, not just this one, but like any of the other ones, you really need to make sure that the people are dead, because there have been so many times where I have thought I've killed an enemy, like a single enemy, and they just like come back to life. So you got to make sure, don't waste your ammo if you're using a gun, but you might want to check to make sure they're actually dead. But yeah, let's move on to the next game. Here we have Alan Wake 2. Now, this game, essentially, you play as this FBI agent named Saga, and then Alan Wake himself. Now, Saga is investigating these ritualistic murders happening near her city. And Alan Wake is transported. Alan Wake is a writer, and he is transported to this dark dimension called the Dark Place, and he has to escape by writing another horror story. And while he's doing that, he has to navigate this like dark and twisted world that he has to navigate the dark place and fight these weird creatures called the Taken in order to and then finish the story so he can hopefully escape. Now, this game also has kind of like an LA noir style detective part to it when you're like investigating the murders. I'm gonna hold on. Okay. As you can see with the Mind Place right here. So this is where like a lot of the adaptive investigation stuff comes in. So basically the Mind Place really helps. It's like an area in Saga's head, and Alan Wake also has the exact same thing, only he has the writer's room. Now, this area is really just good for organizing all of your evidence. And you have to literally like put connect the strings to the correct evidence and then bring it all together to make, a conclusion. I'm going to fast forward a little bit because I do want y'all show y'all the actual investigation part. Here we go. Okay. So you got one person here. So you have to talk to witnesses. In this instance, you talk to this guy. Here we go. So you got a Cauldron Lake murder scene. So that's your first key image, like it says. And then you have to just place it. You have to place it on the board. And then once you get more evidence, you'll So this is a new case. And then look at that. It connects the string. But then, as you get more evidence, here's the thing. Here's the investigative element to and yeah, so then those little images will pop up down below, and you connect them with that. So you got like they manually do it, and once you place the correct one, it'll connect with the little card right there, just like that. There you go. So I would honestly recommend this game if you're a fan of horror and even like dark detective stuff and or like dark mystery movies or books or whatever. But yeah, let's move on to the next game. Next up, we have Killer Frequency. Now, this game, I've actually put it on the channel once. I tried to start an RP series, but the video didn't really do so well. I never continued it. But the game itself is actually it's really unique. Essentially, you play as this guy named Forrest in this like I guess kind of like small town or whatever. I forgot the name of it, but he is a radio show host of the Scream, and it's like I think it's supposed to be like a horror thing or something like that. But basically, the only cop in town has to leave the town in order to get some other cops to come help them with a current serial killer on the loose, the Whistling Man. And since there's no one to take 911 calls, that cop redirects all the calls to Forrest. So now you have to help the people survive the Whistling Man. And there's a bunch of interactable stuff you can do now. You can mess with like the audio sliders and everything. There's some like music stuff. You can chuck paper balls into a basketball hoop you got over there. But as you can see from this footage right here, the game is not like that's not everything, because you do have to leave your off at some points in order to explore the rest of your office or even outside of it in order to do certain things, which like I said for Resident Evil 4, I'm not going to elaborate because I don't want to spoil it. But still, this game it's more interactive than you might think because you do have to make decisions as to help the people, and making the wrong one can get that person killed. But, it's not something like, Until Dawn where, like, you kill one person and then the whole thing is over if that's the ending you wanna get or whatever. But yeah, this game has kind of like a comic booky art style, almost like cell shaded or whatever, and I've actually really enjoyed it. It's a really interesting game. It feels really unique from, like, most horror games out there. Not that I'm saying that, like, normal horror games are bad, but this one just feels super unique, and I loved it. The story is really good, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. Now we're gonna kick it up a notch with Outlast. Now, in this game, you play as a reporter named Miles. I think it's his name, Miles, or there's a Miles in one of the games. I think this is him. But essentially, you're a reporter who breaks into this mental asylum in order to expose it, I think, for like corrupt actions or something like that. I haven't played this game in a long time, but it does have kind of the traditional horror aspects, like you're a defenseless person who can't stop these like all these people who are like coming at you and everything, so you have to run and hide. But the game has a tendency to be very dark, like you know, putting a person hanging upside down, a dead body. Figuratively and literally, by the way, because there's a lot of dark areas you need to go to, and that's a key part of the game. As you can see with this camera here, that's a key part of the gameplay. So this camera can record things and take pictures, but it also has a night vision mode. But that night vision mode takes batteries, and I think the camera itself, but mainly the night vision mode. And once you run out of batteries, you really can't see anything in there. So you have to plan your battery usage really well, unless you have like a bunch of spares, which you can find spare batteries in the asylum. And yeah, there are some quite genetic anomalies in this asylum. So yeah, you really got to watch out for this guy. I think his name is Hulk actually, or Tom. I think that's his real name, something like that. But yeah, so there's just like a lot of weird looking characters in this, but overall I've had a good time. It's pretty terrifying, but if you're able to handle that kind of stuff, then I would honestly recommend it. I feel like you'll have a good time with this game. I feel like this video wouldn't be complete if I didn't talk about Dead by Daylight. Now, Dead by Daylight is essentially a 4 versus 1 survive the killer style game where one person is a killer and where who's just trying to kill all the survivors, and the survivors are trying to repair these generators in order to escape the place, the trial as they're called. Now you may have noticed in the bottom left that there's a little icon with Ghostface on it, and yes, Ghostface is in this game, as well as so many other horror icons. There are like there's like almost every single horror icon in this game. There's Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Ghostface, obviously, like I just said. There's even some from like games. They have Nemesis and Albert Wesker from Resident Evil. They have the Xenomorph. They have Chucky, which is it's kind of funny seeing him running around in that game. Even Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's, they have him as well. So there are so many horror icons to choose from. If you like almost any horror media, you're gonna find the guy you like. If you like Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, there's like stuff for you. Like there are characters for you. There also is a bunch of original characters. This game isn't just a bunch of licensed killers. No, they've created their own killers, and those killers are actually really good as well, and pretty fun to play, I will say. Now, as the killer, you have a specific ability and some things called add-ons, which essentially make your ability more abilitying. Ability more abilitying. What did I just say? What? That wasn't even like I don't even you know what? Just ignore it. But basically, as the killer, you are playing in first person while the survivors are playing in third person. And the survivors are able to kind of like they have like a couple of like gadgets that can stun the killer, which, help with trying to get away or stuff like that. I will say though, this game does have a tendency to be quite annoying because there have been so many times where I've tried to play this game and I I chase after one person and I end up just playing Ring Around the Rosie with them, and it is the most annoying thing I think I have ever done in a game. It is so mind-numbingly frustrating. So if you're susceptible to rage baiting, maybe this game is not for you. But for characters alone, this game is really fun and it has become pretty iconic. But yeah, let's move on to our next game, Phasmophobia. Now, this one is pretty popular, and it's honestly, I understand why. This game essentially you play as not a, you play as these people who are like you're not taking care of a ghost. You're like figuring out what the ghost is. So let me explain it. So essentially, he you see all of these names down here and the evidence right here. So basically, the point of the game is to take all this equipment or whatever, go into this like cursed place or whatever it may be. It could be a cabin, it could be like a normal house like this is right now. I think there's a school map as well, like a closed off high school. There's a prison, like a mental asylum or something like that, and your goal is to use those tools to collect evidence. And as you saw with this, once you hit, like, once you get one piece of evidence, the options go down. And your goal is to do that over and over and over again until you get three pieces of evidence, I think. And once you do that, you can figure out what the ghost actually is, what like type it is. And then you get out of there and yeah. Now, just remember, this is a horror game, so I'm gonna tell you right now that the ghost is not friendly. The ghost in this game, it doesn't matter what type, it doesn't matter like what the identity of the person is. The ghost is hostile. There are literally some ghost types that are like make them more hostile than others. So basically, there's like a whole step in this game where it's called like the ghost is hunting, and essentially, if you make the ghost mad enough, they will try to kill you. And when if you're still in the building when the ghost starts hunting, I think the lights start flickering if there's power because the ghost can turn off the power sometimes, but you are able to turn it back on. And all the doors to the outside lock and close, like close and lock. I probably should have said that in the opposite order. But yeah, so there is you literally just have to hide and wait it out. And if you don't know when like the hunting period ends or like what to look out for whenever, that period ends, you might be ever so slightly screwed. But this game is actually really in depth. There's a lot of interesting things you can do. It's adaptive to your voice. So you can actually communicate with the ghosts in a way. So there's an item in this game called the spirit box. And if you talk into it like your real voice in your microphone or whatever, there's a chance it'll like say something back. And you are able to say stuff like just out loud. Um I wouldn't advise insulting the ghost though, because that will result in an instant kill. I think. I've seen like a couple of clips online where people have said something like insulting to the ghost, and it just popped out of nowhere and killed them. So maybe not the best idea if you're doing that. Let's move on to the next game. And finally, we have Until Dawn. Now, this one is a super iconic horror game made by Supermassive Games. It was once a PlayStation exclusive, but has recently been ported over to PC and even getting its own movie, which actually saw, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. I really hope they do make a proper adaptation of this game because there's a lot of potential here. But if they're like making the stepping stones for like a true adaptation of it, then that's fine. But essentially, you play as basically 1 year before this game takes place. Uh, the guy who owns the cabin that they're at, Josh, loses both of his sisters in an accident. And a year later, everybody comes back, and Josh just like tries to help everybody like forget about it. And they're having like a party or something like that. They're kind of doing their own thing, just messing around, all that stuff. But there's a lot of things at play. Basically, let me just fast forward a little bit just to show you one thing. For one, there is. Hold on, just give it a second. Hold on. Okay, 1 second. Come on, move. Yeah, there is that guy, and there's also a Wendigo. These like this giant beast that is that will try to kill you. There is so much interaction in this game. Like you manually have to press the button and like lift up that thing right there. That's just one example. And there's a choice element to it where you have to like make decisions in order to help the character survive or whatever. There's a bunch of quick time events, and if you fail those, a character might die, and you can't reload a save until you've beaten the game, and you can like freely go through the levels. So if you want to keep all the characters alive, then you will have to do that in like one shot because you don't get a second shot unless you like restart the game, which I have done, and it is to be honest, it wasn't really that bad. I surprisingly wasn't really mad about it. I just loved it. I just like the game so much. I didn't really mind. But yeah, so this game, lots of interactable stuff. There's even a whole thing where you have to keep your controller still. Like if you're holding your controller, you can't move at all. Otherwise, if you're in that kind of like if you're in like a situation where it's like gonna like if there's like a killer after you or whatever, the killer will find you. But yeah, so those are all the horror games I got for today. Let me know down below in the comments which one is your favorite, or maybe some others that I didn't get to. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, as always, be sure to like and sub, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.